I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I am here with Aaron. Wow. Let's start over. What's your last name?
My name on my birth certificate is Aaron Green Hicks, but my real last name is Rothschild.
Very good. Okay, so let's, because that's going to be, and I'm going to ask you to speak as loudly as you can.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because we don't have, this is, as I said, low tech, and really it's a choice of mine to sort of stay low tech here and try to get the word out using what means I have at my disposal under the circumstances when I go to a conference and I'm in motion constantly, and part of the time listening to speakers, other part of the time running around trying to interview people. So, and without a crew. So, at this moment, just let's repeat this. So, your name is Aaron.
Aaron Green Hicks.
Okay.
And my real last name would be Rothschild if I had stayed in the family.
Okay.
Yes.
And I heard you speak, and it was really stunning. And I want to give you credit here because it can't have been easy.
It wasn't easy at all.
Okay, and I don't know if you've done much public speaking, but
no, just on Friday was my first time ever.
Okay, and you handled yourself very well,
Thank you.
And you were very credible. And this is has to be a very difficult situation, but it's a very important sort of revelation for you
and
for the
I'm
people
coming forward
out there. And thank you for having the courage to actually, to do a Camelot interview. I'm sure after you do this, you're going to get a lot of flack for having done so. And so I'm just giving you a heads up. Okay.
I'm prepared. That's why I'm doing it now, and I understand the ramifications of the entire situation.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So at this moment, can you sort of talk a little bit about when you say had you remained part of the family?
When I was born, they put me they took my father and I and put us outside of the family. And my father was the head of the military shadow government, and he put me into MK Ultra. They took us out of the family so that I could be in these programs.
Okay, and can you talk about your father and mother? Their is it your father who is the Rothschild?
Yes. My father's a Rothschild. My mother was a Sinclair.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. And you say he was head of the shadow government. Can you explain?
The military part of the shadow government. He had to deal with time travel. He dealt with MK, all the Black Ops programs at the time, from the 1940s until the 1970s.
Okay. Are you able to say his name?
R.C. Green Sr.
Okay.
Everything's wiped on him. When he tried to, after he was remarried, after my mother passed away, he tried to get his birth certificate to go to Ireland, and there is no record of his birth. There's no record of my father anywhere. There's no medical records, there's no military records, there's no congressional records, there's no anything on my father.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And
I've never seen my birth certificate either. Never.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your mother?
My mother, all I know about my mother really, my mother over here wasn't my real mother. My mother, this is part of what I didn't speak about Friday. We walked over here from another dimension, my father and I. So the Rothschild bloodline that I am from is from the other dimension. I am not from the Rothschild bloodline from over here.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you explain how you know that?
Project Ibis.
Okay, and can you talk about that?
That's very difficult. Somebody had come up to me the other day and asked me a question I've been waiting to hear my entire life. And it was, do I remember my rescue? And he meant my rescue from Canada, from Ibis, when I was being stored. And
when you're being what?
Stored.
Stored.
Yes. We're stored until we're needed. When they regress us, they keep us in fetal state until they need us again.
Okay.
It's difficult to understand unless you've actually lived it.
Sure, of
Right.
course.
I remember everything from before I came over here. I have full recollection of my life from before.
Okay, so would you say you came from a parallel dimension?
Yes, parallel universe that is exactly like this one, only they were peaceful, they brought peace. So what happens is, because I knew how to bring peace and I was part of IBIS, I was brought over here and regressed, and then when I was put into MK Ultra, they had to break me down, all the peacefulness I knew and all of everything that I knew from over there. It still was inside of me, but it was pushed behind a block, and I was broken down to be part of this place here so that I could do what I had to do, which was be part of these programs.
Okay, so because I've interviewed or gotten information from Michael Prince, who is also known as James Casbolt, and has talked about Project IBIS. So in what way are you part of were you part of Project IBIS?
There's a lot of it I can't talk about.
Okay.
And I'm not prepared to talk about it fully. It's painful for me because I've had so many regressions. I haven't had just one or two or three. It's a constant, ongoing thing. They take me and they put me from universe to universe to universe, and once one becomes peaceful, I get regressed, and then I get put in another one. Then when that one becomes peaceful, I get regressed again and put in another one. And the time that I came over to this one, my entire family, my children, and my husband came over with me. Now, they're not part of Project IBIS, but they got brought over with me.
Okay. And what's the sensation for them when you say being brought over with you? In other words, because I assume, you've reached a certain age in this universe, and they also, but you wouldn't have met him until a certain point.
Right. My father had access to time travel technology when he was in the military shadow government, and he did this in the 1940s. He knew that I was going to be born, obviously. So he went forward to when he knew that I was going to meet my husband and found out who my husband was going to be, because ultimately he knew he was going to have to be my handler as well. And when he found out who my husband was going to be, he encoded me with my husband. And so it was always meant to be that I married him. It was encoded in my name. My name Aaron, and then Sean in the middle. My first and middle name. Aaron means peace, and Sean is Gaelic for Johnny, and my husband's name is Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is your husband aware of any of this?
Yes.
Was he aware before you told him, or is this something that you revealed to him?
I think he kind of knew. He was waiting for me to say it. My husband doesn't like to say too much about this stuff because it's still so new to him. His awakening, it is new. He knows what he's here for. He knows what he's got to do himself. He knows that he was also part of. They would go to him for coordinates during Desert Storm he was on the USS Saratoga, and they would pull him aside and ask him, okay, what's the next coordinate we should hit? Where should we target next? And they would get things from him. And he didn't remember they were doing these things to him until I started waking up. And I started remembering. And my son is a catalyst, actually, for my awakening. And my awakening was the catalyst for my husband's awakening. And my daughter, who is 13, has always been awakened to it.
Okay. But when you say awakened, being a Rothschild, being born into that sort of arena, were you... sort of, at what point did you become awakened? Was it after you had your son?
It was about when my son was 15. So that would be about 3.5, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
when I was
prior to that, where was your head at? What was your trajectory?
All over the place. All over the place, because I couldn't understand why I was promiscuous. I couldn't understand why I would get angry so so quickly. My anger just is so, it's awful. I can just go off the handle right away. It doesn't take much to trigger it, and it's not bipolarness or anything. I found out that it was when I would get triggered from my programming.
Okay. You know, and let me say here, just because, you know, I ask pretty direct questions, and I know you haven't done this before, but I want you to feel free to tell me at any time that you don't feel comfortable answering
You're
the question.
Feeling it. You're feeling a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
And I don't.
It's okay.
I don't want to scare you.
Oh, you're
I
not
don't-
scaring me at all.
Okay. And but I don't want to intimidate you. I don't want you to, you know, be caught unawares. I want you to know and feel comfortable with what we're doing
I actually do feel
here.
very comfortable with you.
Okay.
So it's not that. I guess my nervousness is, I know once I walk out the door from this interview, I'm in extreme danger. I'm already followed. I'm chased on the freeways in San Diego. I have a brother who's a Rockefeller, and I will not say his name. I refuse to say his name because he calls hits on me all the time. He had his wife put all of my information from my name to my phone number to my address and everything, how to get a hold of me, on Twitter. And they were, he had sent me money one time for my children to eat because I was pushed aside to be poor and destitute for all of my programming. And he was left in the family to be rich, and he's at the top. I can't say who's his father, but so he sent me money one time, and it was $300. Actually, his wife sent it. And when it got to me in the States, it was $357. And the significance to that is he has Jesse James's 357 Magnum. And he had it in a picture, and that was a warning for me to shut up. And once I didn't shut up, you know, that was not only a warning from him, that was like a warning from the entire family, Rockefellers, Rothschilds. They were wanting me to keep my mouth shut. And I didn't. So the hits started becoming once a month, once a week. And the day before we came here, they sent a motorcyclist up next to us that was, he looked in the car, looked at my husband in the eye, and then he swerved into us. Didn't hit us, but got close enough to where it caught my husband off guard, and we hit a car in front of us, which hit another car, and he drove off knowing that he had caused an accident, and nobody can find, you know.
Sure. I understand.
Yeah.
So, but, okay, and so that was on the way here?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. All right. So on the stage, you talked very specifically about, I guess what you were talking about was how you were brought up, and Dr. Mengele?
Mengele?
Mengele.
Yes. Yes.
So do you want to talk about that a little?
Sure. I didn't know that up until just maybe April of last year that the man that I happily called Grandpa was Dr. Mengele, Dr. Green. And that's why my last name is Green. In these programs, I'm sure you know that we're encoded with colors. And I'm encoded with green because Dr. Green was the one who was he gave me the love up until I was 4. So my love bombing, the love part of my love bombing was him loving me. So I knew humanity from Mengele. I knew humanity in a way that nobody else saw from him. And to me, he was gentle, he was loving, there was a white rocking chair that he would get in, and he would sit me in his lap, and he would just sit, and he'd rock and rock and rock me, and I'd hear lullabies in German and English. He would tell me fairy tales and stuff like that in German and English. He gave me a wonderful and beautiful memory of a grandparent, because that's what I saw him as. I don't know if he's any kind of blood relation, because I don't know if Mengele is, you know, within any of these families. I haven't researched that. I try not to research anybody's stories, because when I give my story, I want my story to be my experience from my first-hand experience. So everything you do hear from me is only me.